Welcome to Sharika Talks, Unraveling the Truth, a journalist's quest. Subscribe for the truth.
Chapter 51, The Vault of Secrets. Sachin stood a moment before he started going through the entire archive. The rows of granite shelves were lined with gold, copper plates, stone tablets, and rolls of treated palm leaves that had defied decomposition. He walked to the nearest shelf, his boots echoing on the stone floor. He picked up a heavy copper plate. It was etched with symbols, the same alien geometry he had seen on Kailash, the same script hidden in the sacred groves of Agastyakutam. But here, next to each line of that ancient code was a translation. In Vatejutu, in Old Tamil, in Sanskrit. Sachin wiped the sweat from his eyes, his breath misting the glass of his rebreather. He began to read, his mind racing to keep up with the translation. He had to constantly search the web to verify that the events mentioned had really happened, rather than being just a story by an old sage. The story didn't begin with gods. It began with a disaster. 74,000 years ago, on a remote island in what is now Indonesia, a volcano erupted. It was not an ordinary eruption, it was a supervolcano, the largest the Earth had witnessed in millions of years. Modern science would later name it the Toba eruption. The explosion altered the fate of the planet itself. Directly and indirectly, it pushed humanity to the very edge of extinction. Genetic studies would later suggest that the global human population collapsed to fewer than 1,000 individuals. Civilization as a concept nearly vanished before it ever truly began. The ash ejected into the atmosphere was so immense that it blanketed the planet, blocking sunlight and plunging Earth into a prolonged volcanic winter. Temperatures fell, crops failed, air quality deteriorated to lethal levels. The air itself turned to poison. Survival of the species itself became a problem humanity had never faced before. Challenge forced change. Change demanded adaptation. Adaptation ignited evolution. The humans who survived were not merely the strongest. They were the ones who understood danger, who sought shelter, organized, observed, and learned. Humans had mastered survival for hundreds of thousands of years. Taming fire and using crude stone tools made humans apex predators. And that very fact halted progress in science. Small prey could be hunted with ease. Cooked meat required no metallurgy, no innovation. Toba shattered that equilibrium. Fire alone was no longer enough for survival. For the first time in Earth's history, progress in science became a necessity for survival rather than a luxury. And for the first time, science was born. There is no fixed blueprint for how a civilization's science evolves. It grows where it is needed most, Sachin thought. Modern humans never faced a true global health catastrophe until the Black Death. As a result, modern medicine is largely a product of the medieval plague, he remembered reading somewhere. After the plague, its progress almost halted. We focused on physics and the Industrial Revolution first. We built steam engines before we understood antibiotics. Physics and chemistry advanced faster than biology, fueled by industry and warfare. But the post-Toba world faced a different enemy: cold, starvation, disease, physiological collapse. Progress in biology was not optional. It was survival. Human groups consolidated. Knowledge was shared, tested, refined. The necessity of survival, of filtering air, of purifying water, of curing sickness, forced a leap in science that couldn't have happened for another 50 millennia. Tens of thousands of lives were lost across generations in trial and error, but stability eventually emerged. And once survival was assured, humanity returned to its oldest instinct: division. Clans formed. Territory mattered. Wars erupted. Then came a man who was an ordinary man at the lower tier of their society, but he did extraordinary things that no one at that time had even thought of. Around 25,000 years ago, he rose as a leader with weapons of his own making, primitive by modern standards, but incomprehensible to the people of his time. With strategy, knowledge, and force, he united vast human populations under a single rule: During his reign, two entire competing hominin lineages vanished. Modern science would call them Neanderthals and Denisovans. The records here called them Asuras. The name of that revolutionary leader was Shiva. He wasn't a deity, Sachin thought. He was a warlord and a scientist. He established a triad of research divisions. He institutionalized it. It became an elegant corporate structure. He divided human knowledge into domains: Nagas, custodians of biology and medicine; Rudras, masters of chemistry, metallurgy, and weapons; Mayas, architects of physics, engineering, and structures. A fourth group existed among them, not researchers, but guardians. They were called Narasimha. These groups advanced science to a level that allowed global coordination and control. Their legacy survived long after repeated civilizational collapses, remembered not as engineers or scientists, but as gods. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Sachin understood now. These were not divine beings. They were titles. How many men bore the title of Shiva across millennia was unclear. But one figure stood apart: Agastya. A contemporary of one such Shiva, Agastya, who was the head of the Nagas, pursued the ultimate human quest: mastery over life itself. Across cultures, that quest always bore the same symbol: the serpent, the Naga. Immortality was called many things: the apple of Eden, the fountain of youth, the philosopher's stone. Mana. Agastya called it Amrita. One of his students named Bogar later called it Navapashanam, of which there were several types. One enhanced human capability. One reversed aging. One killed instantly. One halted metabolism, pushing humans into a state of hibernation. Fearing that unrestricted immortality would destroy civilization, strict rules were imposed. Only those essential to future generations could access it. The last recorded human to consume the elixir of life was Ashwatthama. It may have been a medicinal composition that enhanced human health, Sachin thought, and exaggerated accounts turned it into immortality. He chuckled. But he noted that they may have derived all these ideas from parallels found in nature, like hibernation of animals and creatures such as crocodiles and snakes, which never truly die of age. He stopped reading when it shifted deeply into immortality. He knew that part must be fantasy, but he saw specific plants and their compositions that regulated body temperature, specific breathing techniques, and detailed descriptions of advanced yogic postures that controlled metabolism itself. Deep meditation was part of most advanced practices, meditation that modern medicine had only begun to understand. Perhaps they had mastered it during their harsh existence. Sachin moved on through the records. The script Sachin had seen at Mount Kailash, the same symbols that baffled Indus Valley scholars, the same inscriptions found in Kijhadi, belonged to this prehistoric civilization. It was called Prakrita, a common scientific language much like modern English. It vanished after a catastrophic flood, likely triggered by meltwater pulses around 6,000 years ago, when sea levels rose by over 40 meters almost overnight, annihilating coastal civilizations worldwide. Those who survived regressed. To them, remnants of the past became gods. Then Arthur C. Clarke's words echoed in Sachin's mind: any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. He chuckled, thinking what Isaac Newton would think of a modern common man using an Android phone. Sachin set the plate down and moved to a section that looked different. The shelves here were cluttered with newer manuscripts, barely 300 years old. Marthanda Varma's journal. Sachin opened the heavy palm leaf manuscripts. He saw a detailed historical reconstruction by Marthanda Varma. During his northern conquests, Caracalla Chola reportedly discovered some ancient documents, a chest of knowledge. He used advanced architectural insights he gathered from it to construct the Kalanai Dam, which still stands today. Later rulers searched for similar knowledge. A Pallava prince, who later became Bodhidharma, journeyed alone like a spy instead of leading an army. He encountered a group matching descriptions of the Nagas: short, sharp-featured, with small eyes and short noses, highly skilled in medicine. Though much of their ancient knowledge was lost, they retained extraordinary medical expertise. His voyage to China was successful. He taught them martial arts and became their supreme teacher. He may have been searching for their lost knowledge. Whether he found it or not, when he tried to return to his home country in his old age, he was murdered. 5 centuries later, Raja Chola sought the lost manuscripts. Historical accounts suggest he brought rare manuscripts from the ancient Nalanda University before its destruction. Nalanda housed thousands of undeciphered Prakrita texts from ancient times. Perhaps the only surviving copies ended up in Chola hands. Architectural marvels across Tamil Nadu suggest knowledge far beyond the documented era. When the Pandyas conquered the Cholas, the knowledge passed to them, and eventually to Marthandavarma when he conquered Tirunelveli after his accession to the throne. Sachin realized something terrifying. This vault contained probably the only surviving Prakrita translation, the Rosetta Stone of human civilization. During exile, Marthandavarma discovered this vault through Agasthyarkudam and entered via the Padmatirtha Lake. What he found changed history, not just medicine, but weapons. Detailed descriptions of how to make them, not just various melee weapons, but chemical explosives too. Nitroglycerin production, stabilizing it in cotton as gun cotton, variations of gunpowder, metal compositions, designs of primitive grenades and cannons, even bamboo-based rocket prototypes similar to those later recorded in China. The Chinese rockets of the 11th century were not their invention. They were using technology lost to an earlier era, the designs of Shiva. What? The question erupted in his chest. Sachin's eyes widened. He remembered reading the Vedas and mentions of various chemicals like sulfur, nitrates, and glycerine in them. With his basic chemistry knowledge, he knew they were the building blocks of explosives. But he never expected those dots were connected. Using Agastya's gold reserves, Marthandavarma hired mercenaries, built an armory, and forged weapons. With chemical explosives, he systematically defeated rival chieftains. The Edavidal Pillais were erased. He blew up the palace of the Edavidal Pillais with nitroglycerin. He hid this technology as much as he could from the outer world. During a brief war, he used the same technology against Hyder Ali, the Mysore Sultan. He retired immediately afterward, something he had never done in his life. Decades later, Hyder Ali's son, Tipu Sultan, would reverse engineer the debris of Marthandavarma's rockets. That was how Tipu became the father of missile technology. In reality, he was just rediscovering Agastya's scraps. Later, in the War of Kolachal, Travancore became the first Indian kingdom to use rockets against European fleets. He literally blew up the ships of the Dutch before they reached the shore. Marthandavarma made sure that no one found out his secrets. He appointed the Dutch captain Dillenoy as his naval commander, making him head of the arms and ammunition manufacturing. It was true that Marthandavarma didn't possess advanced small arms, but in reality, he was light years ahead in explosives and rocketry. By making a European commander the head of his arms division, he ensured that, to the outside world, he appeared to be using European technology for his firearms. A brilliant ploy to mask his secrets, Sachin bemused. If Marthandavarma had been a bit more ambitious, he could have defeated the entire European fleet, Sachin thought. Sachin documented everything: copper plates, gold leaf manuscripts, stone inscriptions. As he moved on, he found a pile of black soil in a corner. The description made him gasp. He had heard of it before, mostly when he researched methods to improve the productivity of his farmlands. He remembered reading details of terra preta, the mysterious Amazonian black soil, rich in unique microbiomes. Attempts to replicate it failed. It was found that when its precursor was introduced, barren land could become fertile. No one knew how Amazon black soil originated. Its microbiome was unlike anything found in that locality or similar forests. Some historians believed it was artificially created, a human-made soil by a lost civilization in the Amazon. a man-made soil with a unique microbiome capable of sustaining agriculture indefinitely. The secret behind ancient abundance. The solution to world hunger. Terra Preta. Sachin remembered records that whenever there was a famine, the Travancore royal family opened Vault B. They did it because of this. They used terra preta to ensure the crops gave high yield. After thousands of years of microbial breeding, Shiva's civilization had engineered sustainable agriculture. Agriculture that predated known history by tens of thousands of years. But one question remained. How did it end up in the Amazon? Did European powers somehow gain access to this and bring it to the Amazon to establish agriculture in the dense forests? Sachin knew that to the mutually nourishing ecosystem of a thick forest, forest soil was the least suitable soil for agriculture. So when they found a way to change it, they may have used it in the biggest forest they found. He carefully sampled it. This could end world hunger, he thought. Then he saw a trapdoor in the ceiling. So there was a fourth entrance, he wondered. He checked the exact location on his phone. The signal was weak, but he got the idea. Directly beneath the idol of Vishnu, at the geometric center of the entire vault. Under it, he saw a small mound, a small pyramid-like structure about 5 feet tall. He read Marthandavarma's description. Just one word was inscribed there, a single name, Agastya. Sachin stood still. Reality itself felt unstable. The vault wasn't just an archive made by Agastya and Marthandavarma. It was also a tomb. Then it struck him. He felt a tremor. He felt a pulse. His blood rushed. His breath increased. He asked himself, was it really a tomb or? End of chapter 51.
Thank you for watching Unraveling the Truth, A Journalist's Quest. Subscribe to stay updated on Sharika's journey. Stay tuned for the next part.